Consistent self-improvement, everybody. You are now listening to American gypC podcast. I am your host, Classic, and I'm here with my co-host,
gypC. And today we have Danielle Thompson. She is a designer and entrepreneur who spent the last 10 years traveling and starting businesses and is now running Design Match. Welcome to the show, Danielle.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I've been really looking forward to this.
Likewise.
Likewise, the same here. So to get started, tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're from and where you are now.
Yeah, so I'm from Canada, born and raised. And right now, today, I'm in Bali, Indonesia. So quite a long way from home. Yeah, so it's been a journey to get here. So I am a designer by trade and also a financial advisor by trade. So I studied those two things, which usually don't go hand in hand, but they opened up a lot of doors for me to actually start traveling, to start working online. And I traveled to so many different countries through Central America, through Europe, and ended up here in Bali today. So there's a lot to go into in between there, but yeah, that's a little bit about me and kind of where I am now.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely touch on a lot of those things, So.
Definitely. It's been a while.
How did you get to Bali?
Yeah. Out of everywhere. Yeah. So I remember I was in Canada and I just finished my
What part
studies.
of Canada?
From Toronto, but I was living in Montreal at the time. So if you haven't been to Montreal, it's the most amazing city. I think it's so underrated. It's so cool. Arts, culture, music, like it's amazing there. And I loved my life there. I think a lot of people, sometimes when you hear a travel story, it's like escaping from something or leaving the corporate job. But like I had a great life, amazing friends. I really loved everything about it, but I thought that, I was meant to do something a little bit bigger than what I was doing. And to grow bigger, sometimes you need to get uncomfortable. And I was really comfortable in Montreal. And so one day I got a text, I remember, from my friend, and he's like, "Are you coming out to this club tonight?" or something like that. And I was like, and I remember looking at this text and it was something switched in my brain and it felt like Groundhog Day. I was like kind of looking through the history and I realized every Friday I got that text, every week was the same. And even though I loved my friends, I was like, I think I needed to be in a new community or in people who were just different so that I could grow, And so I left Canada with $1,400 in my bank account and like a one-way ticket to Costa Rica. And I was scared because I had never left, the Americas. And I was like, didn't know how you get from place to place. I spoke no Spanish. I remember just freaking out on the plane. It's my first time away from my family, by myself, like in another country. And when I got there, I realized most people are really nice, and they want to help you. And through that trip, I met a group of people called Wi-Fi Tribe. They are a nomad traveling group, and they were in Nicaragua, just across the border. And I saw a Facebook ad to join them. I was like, okay, I'm alone here in Costa Rica. Maybe I can make some friends by joining this group. Yeah. And I crossed the border to Nicaragua, and I remember I picked the most expensive tour bus to go because I was like, I don't know how to cross a border or anything like that. It was so funny. It ended up being like a senior's tour bus. And I was like, across. And some taxi picked me up from like halfway through the tour. And I went to this house and it was the most beautiful house I ever saw. And looking over the ocean. And those people were the first like digital nomads I met. And I spent like about a month with them. And then the next place they were going to was Bali. And so I went on my own private travels right in between. And then I met up with them in Bali. And that's the first time I ever came to Bali. The first time I ever really heard of Bali past like Eat, Pray, Love, Yeah. And so that's how I ended up on this side of the world. Was one decision in Montreal brought me all the way over here.
Wow. What was the time span in between all of this?
Yeah, so I'm compressing a lot of information, but I left Canada maybe about 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. I'm not even sure anymore these days. And between the time I spent like 4 months in Central America, and then I went to Europe for 2 months, and then I ended up in Bali. But since that first time in Bali, I have been back and forth between here and many other places.
Okay.
So yeah. I've heard about Bali more recently. It's been getting a lot of exposure. What is it like living in Bali, and what parts are you in, and what's your experience there?
Yeah, so I think it's surprising to most people. I tell them like I have an H&M closer to me here in Bali than I did in Canada. And they're like, wait, what? Like, I don't understand how this is. And so I think it's like, I think why Bali attracts so many amazing people, because you have a lot of comforts of the West, like I do love my creature comforts, I do like that I can go to the mall and get a few things, or like we don't have Amazon, but we have something similar here. But you also get that beautiful Balinese culture, which is like Bali is a really special place because Indonesia is a Muslim island or a Muslim country, but Bali is a Hindu island. So it's this really special kind of space within this country. And also the type of Hinduism they practice here is completely different. And so there's this like beautiful spiritual energy here, and with the offerings every day and the Balinese people kind of sharing their culture. And then you also have on the other side, the expats who are sometimes really techie and here building all these online businesses. You have the crypto people, you have the coaches, the wellness, you have so many amazing people coming together on this island that's like founded on this beautiful energy. And I think it creates this space where I don't know, it just feels inspiring to create from. And in terms of daily life, you can, like, we just came back from an organic grocery store around the corner that has like a beautiful cafe, and I had a tea, and I live in this area called Canggu, which is like very popular for long-term expats. So there's really everything here. So yeah.
Nice. How's
That's
the internet
nice.
there?
It's good. I have 5G. So that's pretty good. I have 5G, so all is good with that. But there are areas, obviously, that are less connected, probably, I would imagine. But this area specifically is really connected. I'm always trying to get people to come from Canada to just see, because I think it's hard to imagine. Have you guys ever wanted to come to Asia, or have you been to Asia or Bali?
Well, I haven't been. We've definitely loved traveling, so
Yeah,
it's definitely right now something that we're
that's in our radar. Like we've
yeah.
been looking around, just thinking about a place we want to, go to and kind of stay extended period of time or multiple places and check it out.
Yeah, we got married in Greece, and we've been to South Africa together, and
I've been
she's been
a
a
few
bunch of
places
other
in
places. Yeah. So
Europe.
we love, like I said, we love traveling.
Yeah.
But Bali is a place that,
Yeah.
she's spoken of and probably researched a lot more than I have.
Amazing. I've also always wanted to go to South Africa. Like it's been like one of the top of my list. I bet it's absolutely amazing there.
Yeah, it's
pretty awesome.
very beautiful. And the
Yeah.
bushes are dense.
We were mostly in Durban.
Yeah.
We stepped out for a little bit. I don't remember what area that was.
But
That's
it's
so
that first taste of, nature or close to it. Not quite like, I guess we brought it up yesterday in conversation, not quite like Kenya, but just to see some wild monkeys and things like that.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's such a good point around nature and kind of how that feels. And I think that's also something so special about Bali is that you have the infrastructure, but all within nature, or like this weekend, we went up to the north of Bali for our birthdays. It was my birthday and my husband's birthday. Actually, last week we have mine's 20.
Birthday.
Yeah. And so we're right beside each other on birthdays, and we went rafting, like whitewater rafting. And I had never done this before. I was so scared at the start. I was like, I'm going to fall out of this boat. And like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But you're looking around and you're just seeing the jungle. And it's like the rapids weren't too intense, thankfully, that day. But you're just looking around, and there's this feeling like I don't know, like that I'm connecting to something. I don't know what it is, but it's like I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to access these type of environments. I'm not supposed to just be behind my screen or tuning out with my earpods all the time. I'm supposed to be interacting with nature. And I think Bali, especially in Asia in general, with the motorbike culture and the ease to get everywhere, it gives you this opportunity to interact with nature so accessibly. Whereas in Canada, I have to drive like hours to get into like a real nature place, and it's in my car for so long, and the price of gas, no way I'm going, so it's really nice, like here, that it's so accessible and so easy to just access these beautiful spaces.
Yeah.
So what kind of design work do you do?
Yeah. So my work is I work with usually startups or enterprises who want to create something new, and I help them design apps or websites. So, for example, recently I was working with St. Jude Hospital, and we were making the world's largest open source pediatric cancer database. So it was like for clinicians or students who are studying cancer research to be able to get all the data that St. Jude has on all their patients and everything, completely anonymous, of course, and be able to run analysis in the cloud so we can come to cancer research results faster. So there's apps like that. And then there's apps that are like trading apps or crypto apps or NFT apps. So it's kind of building these tools, but I work with people who generally just have a vision and they want to bring that vision to the world, but they're not exactly sure how it's going to work. So I work with early stage startups. And then at Design Match, we match founders with designers who will help them at that same stage when they're in ideation and they want to create something real.
Nice.
Okay. So you do mostly web design, or do you do other types of design as well?
I think it would be considered like product design, so apps, more like web apps or mobile apps, more than websites itself. But there are sometimes is a website to promote the app or to promote the web app. So yeah, that's the type of design I'm doing.
Okay.
She's a techie.
Are you a techie?
Yeah, I'm actually a web developer, so that's why I was asking. Because sometimes there's, like all kinds of designers. There's, industrial design and all kinds of things. So that's why I was asking.
Oh, that's so cool.
So
The development side. Sorry?
So the design match, is it matching, is it for, how does that work exactly?
Yeah, no, you're like, I don't know what you're matching. So essentially a founder comes to us and says what they're building and what they need help with. So a lot of times they're building, let's say a crypto platform that tells you all the stats about a certain coin. And they have an idea for it, but they need someone to actually design the experience, design what it looks like, what it feels like, the brand, all of those things. So we listen to the founder and hear what their needs are. So we look and try to classify them. Are they a first-time founder, or have they ever worked with designers before? Do they have what's their budget like? And we try and find them what we call their perfect match based on what they need. So Design Match is a mix of a bit of consulting, where we're guiding the founder through what they need and providing the resources, as well as a matching service. So we'll then present them with a designer that we think is a perfect match on both sides. So our goal is to empower founders through empowering designers, right? So we want to make sure the designers are super stoked about what they're working on and that they're passionate. And then we match them together, and then they have a little chat, and hopefully it's a perfect match, and then they can start working together. So it's kind of like a no risk, really like personalized experience for the founders and also for the designers.
Okay.
One of the things I read on your profile is like you started a business when you were 17, which is super young. So can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Of course, yeah. So since I was like, I don't know how old, I've been trying to start businesses. So I was selling my parents back their stuff in their house. I had a little toy cash register, and I would, set up a store in our basement. And then I would call my parents down and say, hey, do you want to shop? And it would be all their things that I took from their room. So I think I was a hustler from birth. I came out of the womb like what can I sell or something. But I just love creating businesses. Like I love creating opportunities for people to work. I love creating opportunities to transact, and I love solving problems. And I think business became more of a hobby than anything for me. It's a hobby that turned into a career. And I was always looking for ways I can solve problems and also make that financially viable for myself or the people I was solving the problem for. And when I was 17, I was in school, and I had already started working online by then. And I was doing little gigs online, designing in Photoshop, like people's resume. I remember my first gig was to it was to edit this guy's online dating profile pictures, like make him more tan and like make his eyes bigger. So total catfish, but that was my first job online. But I was making pretty decent money, like for the photos, like $25 a photo. It was pretty good for, a kid. And I remember going to school and I was studying design. I was taking design classes, and a lot of my schoolmates were way better than me at design. They were reading all the literature, they were watching all these videos, and they had a way more technical understanding of design, and they were able to execute better because of that. For me, it was, I came from an art background. I was like, I paint, and so design was just this intuitive expression of what I did. And without the frameworks, I wasn't the best, at actually executing always. But I was making more money than all my classmates. I was still working online, and I was making money in my field. And most of my classmates who were making money at the time had part-time jobs that didn't align with things that they were passionate about. They were working at maybe pet stores or, at the supermarket or something like that. And they didn't love their job, and their job was only a means to an end until they can get to the point where they can work in their field. And so I thought, oh, well, I'm able to get these jobs. I suck as a designer. So you guys are going to be fine, So I created this website called Intern. And it was basically to provide I called it intern, like paid internships. So people who had these design skills could be, again, matched with a startup or with a young company or with an enterprise who needed design talent. And students could start working in design, super early. But at 17, I had no idea how to run a business at all. I had a lot of great ideas, but again, was missing those frameworks. So I created like landing pages, and I was like, I have a business. I made a deck, and I was like, I have a business. This is great. And I mean, I did get some investment, and yeah, I got some seed or angel funding. And but after that, I realized like I wasn't fit to run a business at this age, and I was so stressed about it. It was so hard. I was making all these mistakes, but I learned a lot from the process. But I said, this is something I'm passionate about, getting people jobs, but I'm going to come back to it in another way soon. But let me just focus on my degree. Let me get my own skills up. Let me keep learning so that I could serve a little bit better in the future.
It's at least good that you tried. Because I'm just thinking back, like at 17, 18, like I knew Photoshop and I knew so much like Flash, Photoshop and different things, but it just didn't saw it as more of a hobby. And now thinking back, like I could have actually done something with it. So and just to get even the entrepreneurial experience early on, which probably, made you better prepared for what you do now.
Exactly. And I think that's a matter of exposure. And that's also why I love like talking on podcasts or sharing my story, because I think it's the thing that we just don't always think about these things. Like, even with things like travel, it was only until I met people who had traveled did I think it was possible. And so you need to hear stories, you need to be exposed to the opportunity and the possibility of things happening to start considering it. So, and I'm sure even at this moment right now today, there's skills that I have, or there's things that I can possibly access that I have no idea of. And that's why constantly learning and listening to different stories and voices will just expand our sense of being. And I was really lucky to have my dad. He's an entrepreneur. And so he was always kind of encouraging me to think about business, to think about how money works, to think about how the economy works in general. I didn't have a deep understanding of it, but at least those little seeds were planted. And you can see with my first business, there was a big knowledge gap, but I was walking in the direction that I thought was interesting. I was walking in the direction that, my dad laid a little bit of a path for, but I just didn't know how to complete the path. So.
Yeah, you've mentioned a couple of times cryptocurrency, and we're always looking for a great cryptocurrency conversation. Are you into crypto?
Passively. I'm not a huge crypto person, but I used to. It's so funny because I was into crypto just by hobby when I was in university. I learned about like the deep web, and I learned about all these things from, I think I was watching like, I don't know, Scandal or something like that. And they like had an episode where it's like, oh, we're on the deep web. I was like, what is this? And then I found these marketplaces, and then you need Bitcoin to do these marketplaces. So I was like, what is Bitcoin? And I remember being in my university library trying to figure out how to buy Bitcoin, and Canada was one of the first countries that allowed you to buy cryptocurrency on your debit card. And I didn't have much money at the time, but I remember the cost of Bitcoin, or the price of Bitcoin at that time, I remember so clearly, was 167 Canadian dollars, which is about 140 USD right now. And I remember I bought some at that time. But I just was so young and I was so early in my career that I ended up selling a lot of it, not all of it, but quite early, because I was like, oh my gosh, I could make $800 off this $25 I put in. This is great. and so throughout the years, I've been always passively investing in crypto, but really with Design Match, really wanting to embed cryptocurrency into there in a meaningful way. So we already accept crypto payments, so really enabling crypto founders to stay within their ecosystem. And we want to create a tokenized experience for our designers so that they can use the tokens to buy experiences within the platform and to also vote on things within the platform. So I'm really excited about crypto as a means for adding levels of gamification, right? Creating new accessibility opportunities. That's what I'm excited for in terms of crypto.
Is it pretty? It's pretty big out there. You said there was like a crypto department or crypto community.
Yeah, there's a big community here, and I think in Indonesia, I think crypto is quite big because of maybe the regulations. I don't know, but 2 minutes from my house is a place called Toko Crypto, and Toko in Indonesian means store. So it's like crypto store. It's this big crypto store like around the corner from my house, where it's like it's like a clubhouse. They have a pool, they have like all this stuff. And I don't know what people do there, honestly.
Wow.
Just like talk about crypto maybe, but it's down the street from my house.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's probably somewhere here in LA there's probably something like that. I know I've thought about something like that, at least wanted to have a couple of events around podcast conversations. But, we'll get to it eventually.
Definitely. I think it's something you can't really ignore. There's so much. I think the one thing though about all these emerging technologies, whether it's on the blockchain or with the metaverse and these kind of things, I think the way that it will impact our daily life will be subtle. It's in the same way that went from floppy disk to completely digital drives, right? It's it's not this it's not this one big change one day where you're like, oh my gosh, I have to burn all my floppy disks now, it's totally unusable. But it's this gradual change, and I think it's happening already, but sometimes we don't even see it because it's so subtle.
Yeah. So you said you guys are accepting payment in Bitcoin or in crypto already. Is Bitcoin one of the payments, the main crypto, or?
Yeah, so everyone pays differently. So we have one person, paying in Cardano, which we love Cardano so much, that coin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDT, like some of the more stable coins are easier for us to deal with, but we try and be flexible. We can't accept all currencies, of course, but definitely just wanting to allow these founders to stay within their ecosystem instead of having to exchange it for US dollars and then after paying us. And so we try and make it as easy for them to reduce any kind of tension for them to actually create Web3 products.
That's nice.
Yeah. And the designers, if they want, they can choose to be paid in that same currency that the client is paying. So it's a nice way. Like we had some designers who wanted to get into crypto, but it was really freaky for them to just buy it with their own money, but it's like, oh, I just earned this. Let me just pay that invoice in crypto. And that's a nice way for them to build their portfolio without having to, go into one of the apps and decide what to buy and all this stuff. So it's been a nice entry point for some designers as well.
Are people using that? Is it a popular method?
So we just started accepting crypto 2 weeks ago. So it's really new. Yeah, but we do have some designers who are already deciding to pay some invoices on crypto. So they'll be like, I want to pay 3 invoices crypto, and then after that, go back to normal. And we're like, okay, cool, sounds good. So we try and be, again, as flexible as possible with them.
So I'm gonna pivot a little bit because I think you're one of the only people I've encountered that has tried Ibogaine, and a lot of people don't even know what that is. So how did you, even ayahuasca, so how did you encounter that, and what was your experience?
Of course. So for those who don't know what Iboga is, so Ibogaine and Ibogaine is an extract from the Iboga plant, and Iboga is a bark, I think, traditionally from Gabon. So that's in West Africa, I believe. And the plant is known for its ability to help people come off of opioids, I believe, but also they found that it's really great to help people kind of find a bit more direction in their life. So if you've heard of ayahuasca or similar plants, it would be in that same category as plant medicine. What's really special about Iboga compared to something that you might have heard of more popular ayahuasca is ayahuasca, I feel like, is the mother plant. So ayahuasca, when you go into her world, she's like, hello, welcome home. You're so beautiful. Like it's like your mom kind of giving you that hug after you haven't been home for so long. And Iboga is the stern father. So you come home and he is like, what the heck have you been doing with your life? You need to get your shit together now, And so it's completely different energy. Iboga is a plant that jokes a lot. It's a plant that is very direct. So I think the world of ayahuasca, you need to translate. You see images and pictures, and you need to translate that and create meaning for that in your own life. But Iboga will tell you words. And it's kind of like the best version of you talking to you and giving you advice, And how I heard about it actually was, I think, through a friend, just mentioned it one day in Montreal. And I had Googled it and I was like, this is one of the most interesting things I have ever seen. I had heard about ayahuasca, but this just seemed so different. And I didn't know why or what was more appealing about it, but I was always curious. But I never found an opportunity to do it until one day. I had been talking about it just, again, passively. And my friend goes, oh, an Iboga shaman is coming to the island, to Bali. I was like, oh, interesting. And at that moment, after all my years of research and stuff, I get scared. So I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready to face this plant, like it seemed like a good idea on YouTube. And I'm so happy for all these people, but I don't know if this is a me thing. And I remember, I went to Vietnam for a couple of weeks. At that point, I was living in Bali. My house was here, my lease was here, but I just went to Vietnam to visit one of my employees, meet his family, and just to experience a new culture. And my roommate calls and says, hey, the Iboga is coming, It's like, oh, shoot. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. And I come home and my friend here has this float tank center. So it's like you float in a tank, and it's sensory deprivation, all that stuff. So I'm like, I feel like having a float today. I book the float, I go there. And my friend says, oh, Iboga's here. Another friend, Iboga's here, by the way, the shaman. I think he's going to come here today. I was like, cool. Go to my float, forget all about it. And I come out sitting in the recovery center after the float with the tea, and the shaman walks in. And I was like, I've been trying to avoid you. And he's like, I know, you've already been called. Like, oh my gosh. It found me. Like, I did not seek this out. It really found me. And the experience with Iboga is something so special. I've done it twice. The first time was in Bali, and the second time was in Canada with my mom, actually. So, and my mom is not into that kind of stuff. She just saw a lot of my transformation. So she's like, maybe this could help. And the first time, the experience was, I think, like defragging my brain. So it's kind of like going through all these old files and cleaning things up. It felt like, I went through my whole life, and my grandpa came in and said, call me more. And like, I went through and learned all the places I could improve. And I was really curious about Iboga because of the science behind it. So there's a lot of images, if you Google brain scans before Iboga and after Iboga. And Iboga has the ability to increase our neuroplasticity. And also it has the ability to repair parts of the brain. So if you look at brain scans before and after, you can see some people's brains actually being repaired, the holes or trauma that's been done to the brain actually being fixed and healed and corrected with this plant, which is really incredible. And as a person who's had ADHD and attention things, I thought, okay, this could be interesting from a scientific perspective. And then spiritually, it was incredible, like the connection with the plants and also the connection with Gabon and the spirits, and there was just so much there. And afterwards, from each ceremony, you learn something different. But the last one in Canada, at the end of it, it just kind of felt like I closed the chapter, you know, that I arrived to where I need to be. And this feeling of peace kind of came over me. And it's not that I feel peaceful every single day, you know, I'm human, but the underlying feeling, the baseline of my life is so much more peaceful. Like one day I realized I don't have anxiety anymore. I don't feel anxious. That is not a feeling that's common to me anymore. That feels odd to feel anxious. Like, what is that? And if you asked me 2 years before, I would say, I'm anxious today, you know, like, oh, I feel this makes me feel anxious. You know, that was in my vocabulary. And so it really transformed, I think, so many things in my brain and how I interact in the world today.
Yeah, I came across it. I've seen documentaries a few years ago, and they're using it a lot of places to treat addiction. And I know in Gabon, it's like a rite of passage in certain places.
Exactly. And I just want to say also, like, I think a lot of people can be scared of these things because
I am.
Yeah.
I respect it and what it does, but it's like, wow, sounds scary.
The experiences, yeah.
So like, I hear you, because it can be scary. Like, am I going to lose my mind? You know, am I going to be out of myself? Like, how does it feel? Like, will I feel like I'm dying? Will I feel sick physically? Like, everyone has these kind of questions that I've heard. And so when my mom said that she was like down to do this, I was like, wait, what, Mom? Like, you sure? Should we watch another YouTube video just to make sure? Like, I don't want to be the person like bring my mom into some stuff she's like not into, you know?
Right.
And she's like, no, I feel ready.
How was
Okay,
her
Mom.
experience?
So her experience, and I think her story is even more powerful than mine, because I'm a person who, you know, lives in Bali, you know, and has like I have a lot of exposure to spirituality all the time. I've done all of these woohoo things, you know, but my mom, she works at the university. She's, you know, she's like the everyday person, and she's about to eat this plant that's going to take her to the moon, you know? So what's going on here? So her experience, so first of all, I want to say that the shamans were amazing. And the group was around my mom's age, mainly ladies, actually, from Montreal, from Quebec, from Ontario. So that made my mom feel very safe. You know, it wasn't all these like young people, you know, who are just like, so that was really nice. And they were really great at dosing. So the big thing is that you can choose your experience. You don't have to have so much. And it's not about the quantity that you have that makes the experience more profound or less. Like, you only need what you need. And that's really important. So the first ceremony my mom has, she said, you know, she didn't see anything. She just felt like things were clearing out of her physically, and she felt very relaxed, you know, and that was her first experience. And it wasn't anything crazy. It was only a few hours, and we were lying down. She had a pillow. She was comfortable, and it wasn't scary at all. And then she said the second experience, she got to start to see things, and she saw things from her childhood. She saw herself talking to herself, telling her, you know, where, you know, she had limitations in giving love. And it was kind of like, I always say, it's like 10 years of therapy in one night, you know, and you just get a lot of good information. And so she started exploring that. And then after that, she went a bit deeper, and then she started seeing herself in a different way. And so I talked to her, maybe it was last week. So this experience happened, let's say 5 months ago. And I talked to her last week, and she said, you know, that Iboga thing changed my life. She said, I look at these situations where I used to feel nervous about maybe work, maybe a colleague or something. And she's like, it doesn't bother me anymore. And I see the relationship with her and my dad even improving. You know, they were already amazing, but I see them more calm and more peaceful. I see her finding joy in simple things. And she seems so content with her life, and she's not looking so much for other things outside of herself to be happy. I see her less stressed. And I think sometimes when we think about spirituality and medicine and healing, we think that the result is being superhuman. I'm this Zen Buddha, or I'm this, person who's not fazed by anything. But I think it's the plants show you how to be human. The plants show you that exactly who you are right now is enough and it's okay. And it's our discomfort with our own humanity that causes us so much anxiety. Yeah. And so through the medicine, you learn how to be okay with who you are. And I think that is enlightenment for me. That is peace. That is arriving. It's being okay with everything that comes with being human.
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you for describing it and raising awareness about the plants and all of that.
Yeah, because I was familiar with ayahuasca, but not too much with iboga.
Yeah, even seeing the differences. I don't think I've ever heard the differences. So how did you end up trying ayahuasca? Is it around the same times, or is it different times?
Ayahuasca was quite a few years before. So I've done maybe 10 ayahuasca ceremonies or something like that in the last few years. Yeah, and the first time, again, really I tell this story just to show people that I'm the same, as everyone else who even thinks about doing this. I was in Argentina at the time, and I was thinking, okay, I saw this on YouTube. I watched a documentary. It seems cool. I think it could help me, because I was riddled with anxiety. When I remember when I would have a call with a client or something like that, I would just feel this thing in my heart drop, or if I thought I did something wrong, I'd feel this drop in my heart, my hands would tingle, and I was just so nervous all the time. And, but I thought it was normal. But then one day I was like, maybe there's something that could help. Maybe I could, I could do something about this. And just to give you context, at the time, I was still running businesses. I was a nomad traveling the world. I think I was more of an Instagram influencer at the time. So I had a lot of things going for me, but deep down, I was still feeling a bit uncomfortable in my own skin, which I feel like we've all felt at some point to different degrees. And so I was like, okay, let's do ayahuasca. I had wanted to do it in Montreal, but it never worked out, the dates, or maybe I didn't have money at the time because I was younger or something like that. And, so I was like, let's do it in Peru, because that's where, people do ayahuasca. So I Googled all the places. And my one fear, I had the one fear, I wasn't fear of the plan. I wasn't afraid of getting sick, but I was afraid of spiders. I was so sure that I was going to go to the Amazon, and I was going to be on this plant, and there was going to be a spider the size of my hand crawling around, and I was going to freak out. This is my only fear about doing ayahuasca, that there's going to be a bunch of bugs, and it's just fun. Why I say that is because we all have these specific or sometimes irrational things that don't or there's some rationality to it, because the Amazon spiders, but that's okay. That's okay. I think sometimes we feel silly about it. It's what if I don't speak the language? Will I be okay? And we're kind of scared to admit that's a fear of ours. But I was scared of spiders. So whatever you're scared of, whether it's the plant itself, seeing stuff, or a spider, or being in a Spanish speaking country, all of it's valid. But I said, okay, what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to a place that makes me feel really comfortable. So I went to this place called Etnikas, and Etnikas is special because it has Western medicine with ayahuasca. So they have a doctor on site, they have a nurse. It's in the valley, no spiders, not in the Amazon. I felt really safe there, especially for my first time. The second time I went into the Amazon, I'm we're going to do this hardcore. But the first time, I wanted my Western comforts. I wanted the things that felt familiar. I wanted to feel safe. I was scared also of the plant. And what if I died? I don't know. I didn't know what could happen in a foreign country. So I went to the place that made me feel the most safe and secure. And I think sometimes when we think about accessing these things, we think, okay, I got to do it the most authentic way. It is authentic. The plant is still the plant. They're whatever makes you feel the most comfortable is totally valid. And I was happy I went there. So happy I went there. It's called the Sacred Valley. So it's all the mountains around. They had a little dog that I loved. You got a massage when you were there. They had yoga classes. It was perfect. And that plant, I drank it. And the first time, I was what happened? It felt just all these images flashing this. I went through my life. I was I don't know what that was. But the second time going into it, I had a bit more control because I knew how it would feel. And I was able to actually, go with the plant and actually discover and open some doors. That whole set of ceremonies was kind of about, clearing out the past, past traumas, what had happened to me before. And I got to relive all of my traumas through my lens today. So I went back to that moment and I stood there as who I am today and saw whatever happened to me at whatever age. And I was able to say, oh, whoa, no one meant to hurt you in that situation. No one meant to do bad. And I got to kind of heal, forgive whoever was involved and move past it. And it was a really beautiful experience.
Yeah,
I'm inspired.
I know, right? That seems like years of therapy, like you said, and like a compact experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So I guess to kind of touch back on some of the places that you've been and even just where you are right now, like where do you see, how long you see yourself in like Bali, or do you see yourself expanding somewhere else?
So my husband and I actually want to have a baby soon. So that's kind of a newest thing on our agenda, which is really exciting, especially as someone who's had a life that's been so nomadic and moving around, kind of wanting to do something that requires a bit more stability. And so it's a new chapter. And so we plan to be in Bali for some time. I think the one thing about being an expat and a nomad is that you are far from your family. You're far from, what's culturally home for you. And my husband's from Uruguay, so he's a Spanish speaker, from Canada. And so there's a lot of sacrifices that need to be made also to live abroad. And I think that's something that's not talked about that much. It's like, oh, the beaches are nice, good weather, cheap food, but it's like you also make sacrifices as well to be away from your culture and away from your family. So, but that being said, we still decided that it was the best option to stay here for quite a few years. We might move a little bit closer, like to Costa Rica or something like that, closer to family in the next 3 years, but we really feel happy here. I think we did enough traveling for the last 5 years, both of us together and individually, that we feel content being here. And Bali has the best combination of things for us, from our little bougie organic food places to, what's called Tokopedia, which is like the Amazon up here, but also great community, yoga, spirituality, and nature. So we plan to stay here for some time.
Okay.
Bali is beautiful. Have you done traveling since you've been living there?
Yeah, so we actually just got back here. I got married in November, so like a few months ago. Okay. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, in Canada. And before that, we were in Costa Rica. Before that, Guatemala. My husband was in Uruguay for a bit. I was in Canada, Portugal, Turkey, Switzerland, and that's all within the last 8 months. So we definitely we're traveling a lot. And before that, we were in Bali for 6 months. But coming back this time is why we decided to kind of ground ourselves here. But it's a new feeling. It's not like we've been here for years and we're just gonna chill. And we still have trips planned, like little trips, baby trips. So we want to go to Europe and do a little camper van trip for a week or two, maybe in France or Spain or something. So still have some diversity in our location, but have a bit more of a home base. So we're not carrying our life with us. I bought a monitor. I'm set here. It's real.
You mentioned food. So what is the food like there, and who's had the best food according to some of the places you've traveled?
Yeah, food is it's one of my favorite things about traveling. I don't know if you guys can relate to that.
Yeah, all about the food.
Right? It's everywhere you get to, I don't know, the spices, everything they're using so different from in Canada and what you can get. So I love the food in Argentina. I do eat meat, and I love how they make meat, they call asado, the Argentine barbecues. So good. Oh my gosh. Even thinking about it, I'm hungry now, So I absolutely love it there. Somewhere that I didn't realize I would love the food, but it's so good, was Turkey. Turkey. Oh my gosh, Turkish food. I never thought about it. I just it wasn't on my radar at all. I wasn't yeah, I'm excited to go to Turkey for the food. But you got the kebab, you got the lamb, you have everything, and it is so delicious. Even how they make rice, it's like the craziest, like the rice ever. It's one of my favorite foods. Here in Bali, the food is pretty diverse because they have influence from a lot of different places. So I think Bali has about 10,000 islands altogether.
Wow.
So yeah, and then you have all the way, I guess, east. I think it's east. I don't want to say the wrong direction, but you have like kind of more like you have influences from each side of the world pretty much, right? So, and Balinese or Indonesian people look so different. So closer to let's call it Papua, which is a place you have Black people there, you know, who look just like me. A lot of people think I'm Indonesian actually when they come, they see me. Yeah, exactly. And then you got people who are super duper light on the other side. And so it's really cool. And that mix of cultures is in the food as well. So it's spicy. That's one thing. It's spicy. You have to ask no spicy because your mouth will burn off, honestly. And but lots of curries, lots of saucy things, like depending where you are, like here, beef isn't big, so they do pork because they don't eat beef on this island as much, but in other places they don't eat pork, so they chew beef. So you have a lot of different fun influences, but the food is really, really good. And I feel like every expat kind of has they find their spot in it, you know, like even if you're vegetarian, there's options for you, or if you're, you know, really love beef, there's options. If you like curries, there's options. So, but my favorite's simple chicken satay. It's like chicken on a stick cooked over the fire, and they have peanut sauce that they have it with, which I absolutely love, like homemade peanut sauce. So good.
Nice.
Yeah, one place that surprises people when I say like has really good food is Peru. I feel like they mix so many different cultures together, and it's just very diverse. Even some of the American places that I've tried there were really good.
Definitely. What was one of your favorite dishes in Peru? Because the food there is insane.
Like trying to remember. Yeah, that was like a good 10 years ago. I don't remember.
I know.
Yeah, I usually ask like the locals, like, hey, what's the traditional stuff? And I went with a group, and I realized when we sit down to eat, they're all picking like hot dog, pizza. And I'm like, I just asked them, like, what's the traditional things? Because we had guides as well. And I basically go with that.
That's so good on you. Some people are freaked out, like to try out food outside of there. What's comfortable for them?
Yeah, I've tried a whole bunch, like even alpaca meats and like guinea pig and a few other things, random things, but I just try whatever traditional food they make that, you know, I try to taste all of it. Ceviche, I think, was big over there too.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's so good. I, I remember I just had a memory after ayahuasca, you can't have like salt or pork or like it's called dieta. So it's the diet after, and there's one before. And I remember being in Peru in the city trying to, in my broken Spanish, explain that I can't have salt or I can't have sugar. And I was like, to have sugar, to have salt, and trying, you know, to navigate that there.
This was
So
this after?
After, yeah.
Okay, for how long?
2 weeks, about.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I stuck with it for a week though. I tried.
Challenging.
It can be.
Yeah.
Iboga is easier with that, like eat whatever. Pretty much just try and eat clean, of course, but I think there's no dieta from my understanding, or I missed it, one or the other.
Yeah. Well, before we get ready to close it out, is there anything you'd like to share with the audience about new projects you're working on, or how they can, you know, view your information about what you do?
Of course. Yeah, I think getting involved with Design Match is just I would love to, my goal is to empower 1 million designers. And so if you are a designer or creative and want to be involved in some way, shape, or form, please reach out. You can go to www.designmatch.io. And one thing that we're going to be working on, actually 2 projects that I'm really excited about, is Design Camp. So we're going to be launching a summer camp style experience in the States that allows creatives of all kinds, painters, drawers, digital designers, to come together and explore their creativity in nature. So that's something that we're working on now that, pandemic stuff's ramping down. Hopefully we can get that going soon. And then the other thing that we're going to be doing, which I'm so excited about, is our giving back project, Diseño el Futuro, which is designing the future in Spanish. And we're going to be creating a free design school in Uruguay to bring design knowledge and design thinking into Uruguay at an affordable price, to allow them to start working online as well as designers, no matter what background they come from. So these are some things we're working on. So if anything is exciting for you, you can always reach out on Design Match and get in touch.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that with us. And thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our supporters.
And you can find the podcast at AmericanGypC.com. Well, we're on all podcast platforms, but you can find our information at AmericanGypC.com. You have all the audio episodes, guest informations, and links to our merch. We have consistent self-improvement merch at luamlee.com. And
Danielle, it's been an amazing conversation. We really appreciate the information you've shared with us, even just the experience that you've had and shared. We really have been inspired to get up and travel. Well, we've always inspired to travel, but we're really looking forward to Bali now.
Definitely. I'll see you guys over here soon.
Yeah.
I try to warm them up to Bali. So it's good that you gave your experience. Before we go, actually, have you been to Philippines? Because that's on my radar.
I haven't, but if you guys go, tell me, I'll show up there.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. And we definitely, if you're ever in Los Angeles, definitely stop by for an in-studio conversation as well. We'd love to have you as another guest and bring you back.
Amazing.
Thank you again to everyone. Consistent self-improvement. Wait, there's music at Classic, KLACCIK, Carpenter, CARPENTA, and that's on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Tidal, all major platforms. And once again, thank you to all our supporters, listeners, viewers. Please subscribe. Thank you for donating. Thank you for the donations. Thank you for the future donations. Consistent self-improvement and peace.